Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're really getting into the life and career of Julian McMahon, an Australian-American actor, whose journey was just incredibly varied. We've got a pile of sources here, interviews, articles, bios, all to help us piece together how his, very public childhood sort of led to this equally public career, full of twists. Our mission really is to unpack all those layers and try to understand what made him tick.
Yeah, and what's really interesting about McMahon, and it comes through in the sources, is how that early life, that family dynamic, seemed to set him on a very specific path, artistically speaking. It wasn't just about the roles he chose, I think. It was maybe about navigating his own identity, too, both personally and, on screen.
Okay, so let's dive right in then. Julian McMahon, born July 27, 1968, Sydney, Australia. And the family background, wow. Only son of Sir William McMahon, who became the 20th Prime Minister of Australia when Julian was, just 2?
Yeah, exactly.
And his mother, Sonia Hopkins, not just a socialite, right? An heiress, a fashion icon in her own right. That's quite the starting point.
It really is. And it created, a unique set of circumstances for his upbringing. His father was born way back in 1908, a whole different generation. Julian himself even mentioned it led to a strange misunderstanding of how you were parented, in the 70s. Plus, his mother, Sonia, she mostly left Julian and his 2 sisters, Melinda and Deborah, with a nanny while she was off in Canberra with her husband during the prime ministership.
Right.
That kind of set up, the privilege, but also maybe that parental distance. It really makes you wonder about the impact.
Yeah, on his development, his path later on.
Exactly.
That context does feel pretty significant. He went to Sydney Grammar School, private, boys only, same school his dad attended.
A bit of tradition there.
Yeah. And as a kid, his dreams weren't acting at all. Army cadet, rugby.
Right, very different.
He even dipped his toes into university law at Sydney Uni, economics at Wollongong.
But didn't stick.
Nope. Then came this, total pivot into modeling. Took him to Europe. And here's where things get really interesting, a key moment. He comes back to Australia for his father's funeral in '88. Ends up filming some Levi's commercials.
Yeah, the Levi's ads.
And those ads apparently really helped him land his first proper acting gig.
It's amazing how things connect sometimes, isn't it? That modeling visibility plus being known in Australia, it opened the door. His first role was actually in a pretty short-lived Aussie soap, The Power, the Passion. He played Kane Edmonds.
Right. I vaguely remember that one. But then he quickly moved to a much bigger deal. Home and Away.
Oh, yeah. Iconic.
He joined as Ben Lucchini in late '89, stayed for about a year, left in December '90, decided not to renew his contract. And he actually left the show along with Sharon Hodgson, who played Carly, his on-screen wife. That must have been big news for the fans.
Definitely. And that move, leaving a hit show, it points to that ambition a lot of Aussie actors have, cracking the U.S. market. But what people often forget, and our sources mention this, is how hard that actually is. In the early 90s, Julian really struggled to get a U.S. work permit.
Really?
Yeah, he missed out on roles because of it. It just shows the persistence you need, navigating all that red tape just to get a chance in Hollywood.
Wow. But he kept at it, and it paid off. His big Hollywood break finally happened on the American soap Another World in 1993. Ian Rain.
Ian Rain, yes.
And he told this story about his very first scene in New York for the show, emerging from a pool.
In a Speedo.
In a Speedo at the Corey Mansion. He called it pretty magical. You can sort of picture the soap opera drama of it.
Oh, absolutely. Classic soap entrance.
And from that point, he really started building his presence in American TV drama. He was Detective John Grant in Profiler. That ran from '96 to 2000.
Solid role.
Then, of course, Cole Turner in Charmed, 2000 to 2003. Huge in favorite.
Oh, massive. People loved Cole. Or loved to hate him, maybe.
Exactly. And then probably his most defining role, I'd say, Dr. Christian Troy in Nip Tuck.
Ah, Nip Tuck, yeah.
From 2003 right through to 2010. Brilliant, complex, often morally questionable.
Definitely questionable. And, looking back at his roles, there's a clear pattern. He seemed really drawn to playing, as he put it, villains or damaged characters.
Yeah, he did say that.
It feels like more than just typecasting. It seems like a deliberate choice, something that really defined his on-screen identity, and maybe connecting it back, perhaps that public upbringing, that scrutiny, that distance. Maybe it gave him some insight into characters wrestling with internal darkness.
That's a really interesting thought. Like he could tap into something there.
Possibly. A way to explore those complexities safely, maybe.
And he wasn't just on TV. He did quite a few films, too. Dr. Doom in the Fantastic Four movies.
Right, 2005 and 2007. Big blockbusters.
Then smaller films like Chasing Sleep, also Premonition with Sandra Bullock.
Yeah, I remember that one.
Red with Bruce Willis, Faces in the Crowd, Bait 3D,
Right.
a real mix. And here's a fun bit of trivia. He was actually in the running to be James Bond after Pierce Brosnan.
Was he really? Wow, okay.
Yeah, imagine that.
That would have been different. But his dedication to those complex TV roles certainly got noticed. He got that Golden Globe nomination for Best Actor for Nip Tuck.
Right, for Christian Troy.
Which, getting that kind of acclaim for such a morally gray character, it says a lot about his performance. He made him compelling.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Then, in 2018, he went back to Australia to film Swinging Safari.
Ah, yes. Queensland.
Yeah, alongside Guy Pearce and Kylie Minogue, his former sister-in-law.
Right, through Danny.
He played Rick Jones. Had a handlebar mustache for the role.
Ah, okay.
And there's this interesting little story from the set. An improvised kiss scene with Kylie.
Oh.
Yeah, involving partner swapping in the plot. He also mentioned afterwards finding it surprisingly hard to speak with an Aussie accent again in the film.
Oh.
After so many years using an American one.
That makes total sense, actually. It's fascinating from an acting perspective. Your accent becomes almost muscle memory, right? The way you shape sounds. Going back after years of embedding a different accent, it can feel really unnatural, apparently. It shows you how much technique is involved, how malleable the actor's tools have to be.
It really does. Okay, so his last big TV role was Jess LaCroix in FBI, Most Wanted.
Right, the lead.
Started in 2020. He said when he got the script, he just had that aha moment that he had to play him. He popped up in the other FBI shows, too, FBI and FBI
First played
International.
Troopers, yeah.
But then he left Most Wanted quite suddenly, midway through season 3, in March 2022.
Yeah, that was unexpected for viewers.
And his final credited role is listed as Prime Minister Stephen Roos in a series called The Residents, which is set for 2025. Shifting gears a bit to his personal life. He was married 3 times. First to Dani Minogue, the singer and actress, 94 to 95.
Very high profile at the time.
Then to Brooke Burns from Baywatch 99 to 2001. They had a child together, his daughter. And finally, he married Kelly Paniagua in 2014. It's also maybe worth noting, Dani Minogue did say publicly later that difficulties with Julian's mother, Sonia, were part of why their marriage ended.
Right, family dynamics playing a role there too, potentially. And another thing about his identity, despite living in the U.S. since the 90s, he always stressed his connection to Australia. Famously said his soul was Australian. He felt Australian on the inside and American on the outside.
I remember him saying that.
Which is quite a statement, isn't it?
Yeah.
How do you maintain that deep cultural tie when your life and career is so rooted somewhere else?
Yeah. It speaks to a really strong sense of self, I think.
Definitely. A core identity that wasn't changed by geography.
It does. And, well, this brings us to the sad conclusion. We have to report the news of his passing. Julian McMahon died from cancer on July 2nd, 2025. He was 56 years old. Died in Clearwater, Florida.
Yeah, such sad news. Way too young.
Far too young. So as we kind of wrap this up, thinking about his life, his legacy, it's quite a story, isn't it? From the son of a PM in Australia to this really well-regarded actor who gave us so many memorable, often quite challenging characters on screens both here and back home.
Yeah, his impact, I think, is really in that ability he had to bring depth to those complex roles, especially those damaged ones he gravitated towards.
Yeah.
He made them feel real, understandable, even when they were doing terrible things like Christian Troy. And he navigated those different entertainment worlds, Aussie soaps, big American dramas, film, pretty seamlessly. Bridged the gap, you could say.
So here's something to think about maybe for you listening. Given that attraction he had to those damaged characters, and then considering his own very unique upbringing, under that political spotlight, how much do you think those two things influenced each other? How did his life shape his art, and maybe vice versa? And how did that whole Australian on the inside, American on the outside feeling feed into his performances? Did it give him a unique perspective, maybe? Something subtle you wouldn't catch right away?
That's a great question to ponder. His work certainly leaves you with plenty to think about.